This is All Aware Podcast with Nathan Rashawn. Like, follow, and subscribe. Help spread awareness. www.allawarepodcast.com.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of All Aware. I am Nathan Rashawn, your host, and tonight we have a special guest coming on the program. We're going to talk about DNA activation. We're going to talk about these little molecules, these little things within your body that help repair things that go wrong. From everything from different diseases and conditions to physical things like skin problems and the like. And we're going to be doing that with a special guest, Darlene Greene. Darlene Greene is a retired Armed Forces member. She was a commander in the United States Navy. She's the co-author of a best-selling book called Become Empowered: Echoes of Grace and Strength. And she has 26 years of experience in executive leadership. She has worked at a couple of the biggest companies there we have here in America. She is passionate about empowering individuals to take charge of their health. And we're going to have a great time interviewing her today and learning about new technology, new things, I don't want to give too much away, that are going to help improve your life, improve your health, reverse aging, and bring you back to the energy, the strength that you've had in your younger years if you're an older person. And if you're younger, it's going to help maintain that longer throughout your life. So we'll be right back here on All Aware. Stay tuned. 60 seconds. We'll be right back.
From the corners of the internet to the wave signals transmitting through your brain, you are now sinking into All Aware. Preparing transmission signals. Stand by.
Silent scan.
Broadcasting off the grid in Central Texas. This is the All Aware Podcast.
Thank you.
Please stand by for your host, Nathan Rashawn.
And welcome back to All Aware. I am Nathan Rashawn, and tonight we have a special guest. Darlene Greene is on the program today, and she's going to be talking about some really exciting information and technology that has been recently more in the public eye, I would say, around ways that you can reverse aging, ways that you can help yourself to recover and just live a more healthy, better life without pharmaceuticals, without specifically certain treatments that historically have been the norm. There is some new stuff out. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Darlene. She's here with me now, and we can talk a little bit about what she's been doing. So Darlene, how are you?
Hi, Nathan. I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, no problem. So I did see you are a retired veteran from the U.S. Navy. Is that correct?
That's correct. I retired as a Navy commander back in 2007.
Awesome. I really appreciate you for your service. I really like. We had Dr. What was her name? Sandy Mararecki on last year, who was in the United States Air Force. She was a lieutenant colonel. I don't know if you've heard of her, but yeah, I love bringing on veterans and talking about experiences in the military. My co-host, he's not here today. Echo Hotel is also a retired. He's in the Marines. So
Yeah, I have a family of military. So I had two sons that are Marines, a daughter that went to the Naval Academy and was in the Navy, and a daughter that went to the Air Force Academy and was the Air Force, married to a Navy captain, daughter of an Air Force colonel. So we're very patriotic.
wow, that's amazing. I appreciate all of their service. Wow.
Thanks.
So what would you say, what is your background after the Navy? I did see, I was looking in some information on you that you started a project that was returning Warrior Weekend workshop. What can you tell me a little bit about that? What was that?
Yeah, so glad you asked, Nathan, because I'm of all the things in my life I've ever done, other than maybe having children, this is the thing that I'm most proud of. And it was because it was in my last commanding officer tour. I had 3 commanding officer tours in the Navy, and my final one, I was in charge of 1,200 people, and we were sending them off to Afghanistan and back. And often they were going as individuals and spending a year over there and then coming back. And quite honestly, they were not doing very well on their return.
Yeah.
And you'd have to sit down with them, and I did. I sat with them as they were leaving, and I sat with them when they returned. And military veterans and active duty they're not known for telling anyone that they're struggling. They kind of do it very silently, but the clues were there and the signs were there. And so I realized we really weren't doing anything today any better than we were in Vietnam. It was really sad. We were not taking care of them in any way, shape, or form. And I wanted to do something better. And I wasn't really sure what we needed to do. So I stood in front of about 400 of my team one weekend and said, I'd like to build a program that better supports you and your loved ones. I don't even know what that needs to look like, but I bet you do. And if you would help me build it, I would like to try. And I had, 40 volunteers in that day, and I assessed what their various skills were. And we began first looking for a program we could just lift off the shelf and copy and run. But there really wasn't one, because the programs that were in existence were for companies or units or squads that were going off as a group and coming back. And
Yeah.
one of the challenges that these folks were facing is they all thought that their experiences were very uniquely theirs. And they didn't even have somebody to talk to about what they were experiencing, and neither did the spouses. And so they were really struggling to reintegrate well, and it was showing. So we began, it was about a year in the making of establishing a curriculum, training facilitators, really pulling together what we thought was, some great keynote speakers talking about. One was Dr. Shannon French. She wrote The Code of the Warrior and was talking about how ever since Greeks and Trojans, they have had a cleansing process coming from the battlefield back into civilization, and that took time. And right now we're having people literally leave the battlefield, and 24 hours later they're in the United States and back integrated, and there's no process. And so we went through and had keynote speakers, and we basically had a weekend with the couple, and we had small group discussions, including things like why I want to go back. This was killing spouses who were just devastated after their person was gone a year. They come back and they're not back a week, and they're already talking about when they can get back there. And that's taken very personally and hurts. And yet when you put them all in a room and they ask, how many of you want to go back? And all of them raise their hand. The spouses look around and think, okay, there's something else going on here. This is not about me. This is not about our marriage. And so there was a lot of education, but there was a lot of small group discussion to get people talking. We did data assessments before, and then at the end of it, the 3 days, and then months later to just check to see how people were doing. And 100% of people recommended it for other people and said they benefited tremendously. Some said, you saved my marriage. Others said, you saved my life. So it was very powerful. And so we did it. I think I had 3 for my command before my boss, a regional director, said, I want you to spread this throughout the Southwest. And I said, okay, let's figure that out. That's a little different than, doing it in your backyard. Let's see how we spread this out. So we worked on that. And then it spread throughout the United States and through other military services. And then became something that was active duty as well as reserve. And in the beginning, it was for Navy and Marines. Then we built a program specifically for Marines. And so that program is still in existence today. And that was
Awesome.
2005. So that was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Really, really proud that we've been able to help so many people. And I got a chance to meet with a bunch of the people that are still doing the program this year and looked at the actual program that they're running. It
Yeah.
is so similar to what we built 20 years ago. I was shocked because I expected there to be all sorts of change along.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it really was incredibly similar. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm really proud that we've had an opportunity to help people with, they already sacrifice enough.
Yeah, I commend you so much for that. And I don't think people that it's hard for regular civilians to understand the shift in life when you go from a normal person into any kind of active duty like that, and deal with the worst of humankind, seeing the worst of society. Even if you don't see any action, the lifestyle and the threat that's over your head every freaking day
Right.
changes you as a person. And when you come back, that's why they raise their hand and say they want to go back, because this is weird now. This is not normal. And I think if more just regular civilians understood that, and had a little empathy for that. I always said, I wish that there was some kind of training course that would send a normal person just for a weekend or something into just the beginning basics of what it's like to live a lifestyle like that, because I think we'd all understand a lot better. And this is coming from a guy, I never have served overseas or anything. I started out in law enforcement and private security contracting, but I saw enough just doing that, and some of the highs and lows that we dealt with, and some of the things that I had to see, and the training I did, that I could just imagine. And then all my friends are Army, Navy, Marines. My cousin got back from 3 deployments over in Iraq, and he was on the First Infantry, and he was completely different. And to this day, I don't know where he is out there. I know he's still alive, but he's somewhere in the country. But that's how much it changes a person. They disassociate. So, anyways, I don't mean to go on to like any kind of weird soapbox, but I'm really passionate about what you said, because that is amazing that you did it. I'm glad to hear you had that program, and it's still going on. So, thank you so much. So let's get into a little bit about you, and your research here. So you've somehow decided to get into kind of researching master foundation cells, or is that right? And
Right.
how does that relate? Look, I guess, what is that? How did you get into that, and how does that relate to?
Yeah, well, let me first start by saying, I had 2 very tough marriages that were emotionally and physically abusive, and I got out of them, but they were not easy. And I ended up with PTSD coming out of
Hmm.
the one, possibly even a little of the first. But the silver lining of that is I went through a lot of therapy. I actually learned a lot of stress management. I was able to incorporate a lot of what I learned into the workshop for my team. I think it was actually because I had PTSD. I recognized the signs of it in my sailors, and I
Hmm.
understood they were hurting when they weren't telling me they were. So I would say that way long ago, I began looking at health and really alternative health approaches, because I think it was like 1996, I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune disorder, chronic fatigue syndrome, and 99, fibromyalgia, and POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia, all of which they'll tell you there's no cure for, there's nothing we can do. And what Western medicine really means is I don't have a drug for that. They don't
Yeah.
really know how to go about. I don't really know what that is. I don't really know how to deal with it. So I began really looking into alternative things. But what really happened to change my focus dramatically to, in any other country, we would call them stem cells, in the United States, I need to say master foundational cells because of regulations by FDA on they're locking up that word and basically saying, only they can use it, or pharmaceutical companies that are doing something are allowed to use it. So
Oh boy.
we're going to use master foundational cells. So began looking at that really when my husband was only 64 and diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. And this was devastating. We actually tried everything that everything that I knew of to help him with his Alzheimer's, from gene mapping and microbiome testing and interventions to infrared sauna, red light therapy. We actually went out of country and we got IV stem cells in Guadalajara and had that 4 times at $10,000 an IV for him. And we got it for me too, to try to resolve my fainting that was coming as a result of the POTS and other things. Didn't help us. It didn't help either of us. We did hyperbaric chamber, we did ozone therapy, hydrogen water, daily strength training, high intensity training, sleep protocol, you name it, Nathan. We were really trying it and nothing worked. What the Western medicine wanted to do for him was to give him the latest and greatest new medicine, which causes brain bleeds in 50% of the people who have his APOE4 gene type, and was not going to do that. So at the time when I found this technology, he was essentially 5. He had disengaged from all conversation. It was just too hard for him. He was napping 3.5 hours a day, falling asleep at 7 at night. Really no longer his personality. I would say he was like a zombie, kind of a shell of his previous personality, no longer trying, funny, unable to do things he used to be able to do, asking me the same question 7 times in just a few minutes. And so I had a friend who said, hey, I am using this technology that is just life-changing for me. It's been life-changing for my autistic daughter. It's been life-changing for my cousin who's at end-stage Agent Orange veteran with leukemia. And I know you've gone out of country to get stem cells. What these do is they activate your own master foundational cells. I did not know that when you're 30, half of them are dormant. When you're 60, they're almost all dormant. So
Crazy.
I didn't know that. And this was a way of using light therapy to wake them up, duplicate them, activate them, and have them go to work to do repair. So I will tell you, Nathan, I was incredibly skeptical, but I was just desperate. And I said, sure. I think the master foundational activation cell patch that we use was $99 for a 1-month supply. And I was like, after spending $10,000 for both of us,
Really.
I'm like, sure, let's try this little tiny thing that looks like a Band-Aid. Sure, we'll try this. So I did, and I was absolutely stunned by the results in the first week. And not everybody experiences these kinds of results in the first week. They say a month for every decade you are old is how long you should try them out. That's usually a little lengthy time, because this is really elevating a peptide called copper peptide in your body that's throughout your whole body. And there's a lot of studies on what copper peptide actually does for the body. It's actually kind of fascinating. If you go into PubMed and you Google it, you'll find that it will say when you elevate copper peptide, it increases stem cells, it produces growth factors, it improves the brain and nerves, including upregulating and downregulating genes. It improves heart health. It actually reduces fibrinogen and increases myostatin. It increases healing and tissue repair. It resets like 4,200 genes to their younger and healthier state. Great anti-cancer benefits. So it's even used in cancer clinics because it resets the programmed cell death of cancer cells without affecting healthy cells. And it actually repairs damaged DNA and even resets 84 genes to protect against cancer. It protects
Wow.
lung cells, it improves skin and hair, and it lengthens telomeres, which are the things that are associated, so correlated actually quite strongly to your length of life and disease. So I, not, knowing really none of that at the time, I'm like, sure, I'll put these little patches on my body and we'll see what happens. And we'll put them on my husband and see what happens. And I will tell you, in that first week, he did not take that 3.5 hour nap that he'd been taking for a year. He didn't nap at all. He didn't fall asleep at 7 p.m. He was incredibly chatty and engaged in conversation. He was more with it and replying appropriately. He didn't ask me the same question over and over again. And probably what warmed my heart the most is he was back to being his funny and flirty personality. I got my husband back in a week. And it was very moving. And we do a Zoom call with his brother and sister-in-law every weekend. And they saw the difference in the week. They're like, what is going on? This is extraordinary. Second week, I think he got the best deep sleep we got. We had been working. And when I say we worked on deep sleep, I took a sleep class. We had red lights in our bathroom. We made the bedroom very cool. We had a chili pad mattress. We didn't eat 3 hours before bed. We did all sorts of supplements. We were trying to get his brain to cleanse at night, because that's what happens when you go to deep sleep. And he
Right.
wasn't about 15 minutes of deep sleep. Second week, he got an hour and 25 minutes of deep sleep, which is the best we've ever had. And over time, he regained the ability to whistle and the ability to drum. His blood pressure dropped 37 points.
Wow.
He had regained the sense of smell he lost 15 years ago. And that's an early warning indicator for Alzheimer's. So he regained that. His hair started to grow back. The bald spot started to close in, and his hair grew in darker, like a brown. I was like, when have you ever had brown hair? And he said, when I was a kid, I had all this hair growth, and I had my own, really my own story. So I had broken my foot. I had sprained my ankle, and actually had ripped entirely one of the ligaments and another one 90%. So I needed surgery, and I'd been in pain for 5 months, and I had, been taking this medicine to raise my blood pressure. Doesn't that sound like a bad idea? To raise your blood pressure so that I got enough blood to the brain so I wouldn't just pass out. And because I had twice passed out and knocked my head, once against a tub, another time against a door jamb. And I was grounded from driving for 2 weeks while they tried to figure out what was going on way back in. And it was like 2005 or so when I was diagnosed, and they did all sorts of tilt tests and everything, and said, you have postural orthostatic tachycardia. This drug is your thing. And I said, I don't want to take a drug that raises my blood pressure. And they said, well, it's that, or eat a lot of salt, or both. And so I was having to take this fluorocortisol medicine, and otherwise I would pass out, and I wasn't able to like play pickleball in the summer here in Arizona, or some of the things. I would still even get lightheaded, and I had headaches, and I had I guess the biggest issue I had at the time, besides the pain in my foot, was I was depressed. I know I had good reason to be depressed with my husband having declined. My husband declined 14 years of progress in 2 years. So he declined very rapidly, partly because of early Alzheimer's, partly because I was not awake enough to know not to get the vaccination at the time. And so,
Oh boy.
unfortunately, there are several doctors who I've since seen who think that caused turbo Alzheimer's, essentially. And so we had his decline had been rapid. So I was wanting to cry every day. I couldn't ask him. Here I am hobbling around on crutches and not able to even ask him to get me a glass of water, because he would look at me like, I'd like to help you, but I have no idea what that even is. Like, I don't know how to do that. So that's where we were. And when I began to patch, I first got out of pain, and the pain relief was so dramatic, I didn't believe it. I literally didn't believe it. I was like, okay, this must be the day 5 months in where my pain just goes away, right? Because there's no way I believe you can put these little stickers on you and all of a sudden my pain goes away like that. I just don't believe it. But then you wear them 12 hours on, and then you take them off after 12 hours. And I took them off, and 5 minutes later, my ankle is throbbing and in pain again. So I was like, okay, this is definitely the patches doing this. And
So
then
it's like a little nicotine patch or something that you're
no,
wearing, or what?
I'm trying to see if I have one that I can show you actually. I think I have one right in here. Maybe.
So this isn't something you have to take, or it just goes on kind of.
It's a tiny little quarter-sized patch, and it is basically. I'll talk about how it's working
Sure.
in a second. Oh, I have one right on my elbow. Actually, I had here.
Oh, wow.
I had a little yeah, it's tiny quarter-sized patch, and I will talk about how nothing is going in the skin. There's no drug. So we'll talk about how that's working, but the pain relief was dramatic. My energy levels were amazing. I was in the kitchen cooking up a storm thinking, why did I hate cooking so much? But it was because I really never had the energy for it.
Yeah.
My depression lifted in 2 to 3 weeks. I just dissipated, and I was just stunned by that. My headaches went away. My rosacea cleared after I don't know, 3 months or so, which no dermatologist had ever been able to. All my symptoms of rosacea just went away. I had some dark spots on my face that lightened. I started to lose weight effortlessly. And I think you've talked about fasting. I had done, 3 and 5 day fasts. I was not able to lose weight, and I was not eating that much, and I was exercising. I was weightlifting. I was doing all the things, and I was just not able to lose weight. So I was frustrated
Yeah.
with that. All of a sudden, 10 pounds just sort of melted off effortlessly, because I think there's so much we don't understand about the body, from hormones to metabolism to lots, right? And I just didn't have any body aches anymore. But part of it is I was no longer stress eating. I was just calm, and I was really, really dramatically improved. So that was mine. And so I immediately was like, Mom, Dad, sis, cousin, aunt, you guys need to do this. And like, not even optional, Mom and Dad, like you need to do
Yeah.
this. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I began to look and discover there's a patent, and there's 90 clinical studies, and that there's even a study that shows when you are wearing this master foundational cell activation patch, that it does reset 4,000 genes to their younger, healthier state in 24 hours. And it even, you can look on EEGs and see the change in the brain from a 2009 double-blind placebo-controlled study, peer-reviewed, that shows it supported the cell and nerve regeneration. It improved the nervous system and lowered anxiety. It decreased brain inflammation, and it improved memory, focus, and cognition. And I saw that in my husband, and I felt that in myself. And then there's another study that they used that same patch, and this is just one patch. This is the power patch. Like there's one patch. There's a suite of patches, right? There's a pain relief patch. There's an anti-inflammation patch, but the power patch is this one that elevates your master foundational cells. In a 6-week study of that one, double-blind, placebo-controlled, every 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system began functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. And I mean, it actually, new blood vessels formed to make proper circulation, and it prevented blood clotting, and it restored integrity of vessel walls. So that, you have books like this book, the How to Reverse Aging by Dr. John Harmon, A Comprehensive Guide to Copper Peptides. He had a right branch bundle blockage. There's no cure for that. There's no surgery for that. 14 to 16 months after patching, he went back and had another scan, and it was gone. And the surgeon's like, these don't go away. They never go away. There's nothing that makes these go away. So
Wow.
there's a ton of, I've heard you say in your podcast that, sometimes we know truth, not based on what anybody in any media or anywhere says, but what is more a pattern of evidence and actions, and what you actually see. And so, as skeptical as I really was around all information, because I don't trust the medical establishment, I don't trust pharmaceutical companies, I don't trust the government's discussions on anything health related. Quite honestly, they're in the business of disease, and they make a lot of money through pharmaceuticals. Even the media makes a lot of money through pharmaceuticals. So
True. Yeah.
I was mad that I didn't know about it already. I was mad that when I researched all that I had researched on everything to do for my husband, I hadn't discovered this earlier, because I do believe if we would have gotten to my husband like 5 years sooner, we wouldn't be where we are now. You know, and so we we um we did it did change my life. And the way it works, the way this little patch works is it's like a double-sided mirror. So you know, Nathan, how when you walk outside and you're in the sun, the sun hits your skin, and that light signal tells your body make vitamin D.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that now. Or make melanin for a suntan.
Yep.
Everybody knows this and understands this. So phototherapy, light therapy, has been around for 5,000 years, really. And you know, we know that if I looked at you with night vision goggles on, I would see light inside of you, emanating right through your clothing, through everything. Well, this little patch, which is like a double-sided mirror, it could even be on the outside of my blouse. It could be on the inside facing out, because we have autistic children who can't put things on their skin, or just, you know, my daughter has a sensitivity. She's like, you know, I'll put it on my clothing, but I'm not going to put it on my skin. Okay, fine, whatever you like. It's going to work. No, it's going to work if it's slipped in your pocket. But when you put it right on the site of maybe something that's hurting, it's better for pain relief, but it's still going to elevate your body's copper peptide. And what it's doing is it's reflecting your own body's light back into you at a very specific wavelength that's causing this biochemical response, and that's called photobiomodulation. And so I have four doctors actually using these patches. Did they tell me about them? No, they did not. When I actually brought it up to them and said, hey, have you heard of these? They're like, oh yeah, I use those. I'm like, well, why didn't you mention it to me 5 years ago? You know what? Why? There's this anesthesiologist who was a 40-year physician. He said, this is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime. And this patch is one of the most amazing products in medicine. And I will tell you that when my mom came out of heart surgery, she was in still 8 out of 10 pain. You know, they'd given her everything they could give her, all the morphine, all the stuff, right? But you can only do so much before they start worrying about your heart, your lung, you know, not breathing enough, and that's all we can give you. And she was in excruciating pain. And I patched her with our pain relief patches, took her to a 0, and she never asked for a Tylenol. Never again, like ever. And I kept waiting for like day 2 or day 3 for her to say, you know, I need my pain meds now. Never. And that's why we have, you know, it's not known very much, but we have very elite athletes wearing these patches. And in fact, we had over 300 Olympic athletes wearing these in the 2008 Olympics. 2008. Now, not this master foundational stem cell, scratch that, master foundational cell patch, because it wasn't developed until just about 5 years ago. But our first patches long ago, back 20 years ago, were developed when the inventor was asked, would you come up with a way to help our Navy SEALs stay awake several days at a time without amphetamines or drugs?
Yeah.
And so the very first patch dramatically improved energy and mitochondrial health. And that was initially used by a lot of elite athletes because it enhanced their performance and rapid recovery. So we had Michael Phelps and the whole gold medaling swim team, David Beckham and Serena Williams. And even today, Ivory Sully would tell you that Tom Brady wears these patches, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know we have Kansas City Chiefs wearing the patches because I have a friend who's actually patching them. So, you know, it's a really, but you know, when I've asked the company executives, like, why don't we have Tom Brady like on an ad?
Yeah.
This, like, do you have any idea what that could do? And they said, you know, our big stars that are wearing these want big bucks to advertise any of the things that and they get them, and we don't do that. So anyway, this copper peptide that is being elevated is really, peptides are kind of all the rage anyway, and that's why the FDA is trying to start shelving them. You know, you'll find it hard to get peptides nowadays because they work and they take away business from pharmaceutical companies. So whether someone's getting a copper peptide through an injection or a cream or through our patches and having your body elevate its own, doesn't really matter to me, although I think this is the easiest way, and injections always have a downside. But, copper peptide is huge and unknown, and of course will remain unless we start talking about it. And that's why I love your podcast, because you open up the curtain and you shed light on things that are really important.
Yeah, I was gonna ask actually why, if we've had this for so long. I mean, I think we probably my followers probably know some of the answer, but in your opinion, why do you think it's taken so long to get it out there to our moms, to our dads, to
Yeah.
everybody?
Yeah. Well, I think you could probably answer that question even better. But I would tell you, I truly believe that, I mean, we have had, the owner inventor has been on television shows. There have been amazing marketing. I mean, we're the #1 growth company in our field for the last 4 years running. We've won Momentum Awards, and but I think unless you're on the big media networks or in the big newspapers, online or otherwise, or getting marketed by big names, celebrities and influencers, I just don't know that people would know. And we're not
Yeah,
in a store where you could see it or advertise on television, right? It's really a person to person discussion. And so I think that it's certainly, if you were to look at the growth that the company, I mean, we've had just exponential growth over to, particularly since this patch came out that elevates and activates the master foundational cells, because it has been life changing for so many people. I mean, I have to be really careful what I say, because our product is not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent disease, even if it does. But I think most people understand that these foundational master cells were the first two things that came together to make you, and they
yeah,
can become anything in your body. They can become bone or muscle or cartilage or fat, or they can become brain or lung or kidney or liver. There's nothing, they made you. There's nothing they can't help repair or rejuvenate, or even just regenerate damaged cells. They can actually break down scar tissue on the outside or the inside of your body and then put in new, fresh tissue. So what is the limit on what they're capable of? I have a doctor friend that I do every Thursday at 5. We have a presentation on these patches, and her daughter had a tremendous brain bleed from a horse accident and
Hmm.
was not doing very well. And there was nothing, I mean, she had tried everything that Western medicine offered. That was her line of work. And she finally started patching her and saw immediate, in the first 24 hours, saw improvement over time. She credits them for really saving her daughter and having her back to normal now. And another friend of mine whose daughter has a rare genetic disorder and was 16 years old, but actually kindergarten, she in 5 weeks went from kindergarten to upper third, fourth grade level in her academics. In 15 days was no longer on her ADHD medicine.
Oh, that's
Her
amazing.
executive reasoning improved tremendously. She's talking about living on her own now, where she couldn't be left for 1 minute by herself before. And that's just like some of them. People, her cousin, Robert. So Robert was veteran, Agent Orange, on his deathbed, using a wheelchair or a walker to get to the bathroom even. And basically had sold, I mean, when they say sold the farm, he had literally sold all the cows on his farm and had prepared to die. And they
Hmm.
said to him, this was Western medicine, saying, we're going to give you this drug. It's going to kill you, but it's going to improve your quality of life until you die. And she said, just try this. And so he did. And he was out of bed in 3 days, and he was traveling in 2 weeks, and his T cell, white cell count started improving dramatically. And he is now bought back all of his cows, living a very high quality life, feeling better than he has in decades. So, in fact, he had put up a testimonial. He took it down because he was like, I'm afraid that the VA is going to take away my veterans
Oh
benefit.
no.
So anyway, it's really remarkable. And it doesn't have to be one of these tremendously dreadful diseases. It doesn't have to be that you're trying to prevent cardiovascular disease or trying to help with something as treacherous as Alzheimer's. It can be just, I need more energy. I need more sleep. I am having trouble. I don't want to age. I don't want wrinkles. I want fewer. I want to look younger. Our skin is our largest organ. And so we have a patch that, well, not only does this master foundational cell activation patch do this, but we have a patch that specifically elevates the epithelium peptide. And that improves all of the organs in your body, the function of your organs. Well, guess what? Your skin, being the most visible organ, starts to show and you look younger. I'm about to be 60 and I have all sorts of people say, you don't look that well.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
My skin is a reflection of my inner organ health, and that's proved, right? I do love looking young, but that's what I really love, is knowing that my organs are in a better way, in a better place. And so it's really, there's nothing that they don't help, and they're so inexpensive and so easy. There's no contraindications. There's no prescription required. They get mailed to your doorstep. The only requirement is that you drink half of your body weight in ounces in water. There are over 90 clinical studies. So it's not even like they're better tested than any drug any of you are using. And they're better tested than any supplement that anybody's using. So whether it's hair growth or no wrinkles or bulging discs or, just anything that you're trying to improve, there's a money back guarantee. There's no risk. So I love this. And I have been a very private person, Nathan. So talking,
I understand that.
talking
Same
on a
here.
podcast for me is not in my normal. It's just not in my normal. I was the person who, if any of my high school friends wanted to know what I was up to, they saw that I had a daughter that graduated from the Naval Academy and another one that graduated from the Air Force Academy. And that's all they really knew about me, because I was not someone who posted on anything ever. But this is so life-changing and transformational. And I'm just so mad that I didn't know about it beforehand. And I'm so interested in helping others, particularly veterans, right? Or
Right.
first responders. I have helped a firefighter who, they broke his back carrying him and he could hardly move. I've helped a special forces ranger who was unable to tie his shoes or golf anymore and couldn't get down on the floor and play with his kids. And he is just now thriving and golfing and running and all the things. I helped a guy who was the only guy, you may remember there was a helicopter extraction that actually got shot with a surface to air missile. The whole helicopter blew up in the sky and crashed to the ground, and everyone died except one guy. And he is a high school friend of mine, and he survived it. And he was in a coma, and he broke a ton of bones in his back, and he was in the hospital like a year. I've been able to help dramatically improve his health.
That's amazing.
I love that, right? And so that is why I come on and share, very personal stories and things that are a little uncomfortable for me, because I know that there are people out there that need this, and they're not going to hear it in any other way.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your the boldness and the courage you have to talk about this stuff and to come on podcasts like this and let people know this stuff exists. And I'm actually really excited about this type of product, because I do know maybe about a decade ago, I was hearing that some of the elite and some of the sports team members and things were getting these cells injected at hospitals and doctors' offices and things like that, right? And I was hearing some good stories about that, but it was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and literally only the most wealthy people could afford it. So I mean, and this thing is a patch, and I called it a nicotine. It's not a nicotine patch. That's just kind of what I refer to, right? But it's like a patch, and so it has It's copper. What is this? There's a peptide or
The patch is made of crystals, amino acids and sugars and salts that form a lattice structure, and each different kind of patch has a different lattice structure. So it's what's creating this sort of mirrored effect that's reflecting the light into your body. So nothing, it's called a non-transdermal patch. All of those other patches that you've heard of are transdermal, meaning something is going into the skin.
okay.
Case, nothing is actually going into the skin except the reflection of light. It's just light. And so really, that is what makes it so safe. That's why people can continue to take their medicines, whatever medicine. Although I will tell you this, I have had people that in the first week worked with their doctor and had to drop their blood pressure medicine in half right away. A lot of people find that after patching, their blood pressure is dropping, their cholesterol is dropping, their A1C is dropping. So they half their insulins, and eventually they get off of insulin, and they lose weight and they gain muscle. I mean, I think, people talk about losing weight all the time. And I think what we really need to be talking about is gaining muscle so we improve our metabolism, improving our gut health. I have so
Yes.
many friends who their microbiomes are all screwed up, right? And the gut brain connection is so real. And so I've had a friend, a nurse, who was incredibly skeptical. She had terrible gut issues, and they were causing her to literally bowl over after eating anything, and she'd have migraines. She was incredibly skeptical, but she had a little pain, and I popped her with these pain patches. So they're the only patch that works like on the spot, really. Immediately you can feel the pain relief. The other ones can take, 80% of people experience something good in 3 to 6 weeks. But they're not on it, where the expectation is you're going to improve 10% a month. So if you can, now a lot of people do better than that, but that's what we try to set expectations at, 10% a month, right? So in her case, 3 weeks in, she sped things up by using the anti-inflammation patch, because inflammation eats up those master foundational cells. The master foundational cells are immediately drawn to inflammation and consumed by it. So when we wear this patch that lowers the inflammation while we're elevating and activating the master foundational cells, we get those cells really going to work on the things that they need to, and they're going to go where your body needs it the most. And in her case, in just 2 to 3 weeks, she was dramatically improved. Her gut health was dramatically improved. I have a sister. My sister had microscopic colitis, which is chronic diarrhea. It was bad, and it was 6 years of it. Well, that was causing problems. Like, she would have, four
I have
or
a
five,
family member with that actually.
6 episodes before walking out the door, and she'd have to stop before bringing her daughter all the way back home. And it was bad. Her whole day had to be planned around this, right? And she's
Yep.
drinking, medicine to try to stop this. And in just 3 weeks, it went away. In a few days, her plantar fasciitis she no longer had symptoms of plantar fasciitis. She no longer had symptoms of microscopic colitis in 3 weeks. She no longer had, so it's just really powerful. And I just am so passionate about it because I've seen so many amazing people who were on to get an organ transplant, 2 months of patching, and they're no longer needing an organ transplant. People who were set to have eye surgery for macular degeneration start patching in before they get to the doctor. They no longer need to have surgery because the doctor looks and says, I don't know what happened there. It's not there anymore. Like, there is nothing. It's just a matter of what your body needs first. So they work differently for every individual person, which is part of why we can't make any claims. Although you can look at the studies and you can see the improvement on the organ's health, and you can see the improvement in muscle development and strength, and you can see the elevation of copper peptide, and you can see the reduction in inflammation of the brain. You can see those in the studies, but we make no guarantees for people. I would just say it's not a matter of if it's working for you. It's just a matter of when are you going to notice it, and what are you going to notice first.
Yeah. So do these patches I guess it's kind of a weird question, but diet has a lot to do with things too. When you're taking these, can you resume everything that you're typically doing, or does it, is there any kind of like biological thing that happens where you want to eat different things or anything like that? You know what I'm saying?
Good question. I found for me, so there is a patch that really dramatically helps with sugar and hunger cravings.
Okay.
So let's put that one on the table for a second, because that one dramatically helped me because I was a bit of a sugar addict, and I think that I white knuckled my way through life. I was disciplined, but part of that's like my military discipline. I'm disciplined as an individual anyway. But I was always wanting it. Like I
Yeah.
wanted it, and I just white knuckled. I don't have to do that anymore. But I think it's because of that patch. But there are the it does matter. You need the ingredients to bake the cake. So your body needs good nutrition. It needs good water. It needs electrolytes. It needs copper to make copper peptide. So for example, if you're not getting enough copper, which a lot of people don't, 80% of people don't have enough copper in their body. So they might need a 3 milligram copper supplement, or eat it in chocolate or liver. I don't like liver, so I'm not eating
Yeah.
it.
I'm well. Me either.
Tiny little 3 milligram supplement to make sure that I have copper. We need a little bit of like Celtic sea salt to get the minerals into, you need the water to get into the cell. So that's electrolytes, or a little Celtic sea salt is really beneficial. But besides that, what I have seen is people have a tendency to feel better. So I'll give you my experience. I began to wake up before my alarm. I began to wake up, and where before I would be like, I need to go work out, now I was like, okay, I'm going to go work out, and I'd have the energy to go work out. I had gotten a good night's sleep. I would go work out. Well, because I'd gotten to work out, I'm drinking more water. And now I'm like, well, I worked out. Now I'm going to eat a little bit better. Right. I mean, just there's this cyclical effect of people have a tendency to dramatically improve their muscle and lose body fat. And I can't tell you, I think some of that's hormone balancing, because I do believe that happens when you're patching. And I think some of that's gut health. And I think some of that's the calming of anxiety. So you're no longer stress eating. I think some of that is getting good sleep, and getting good sleep can also help your body toning, right? So I don't know what part of that is really making a difference. There are people who really don't change what they're eating at all and still improve dramatically. And even there are people who struggle to drink enough water. My mom and dad are not very good at drinking half of their body.
Yeah.
My mom starts with coffee and ends with wine, and my dad starts with coffee and starts with a gin and tonic fairly early. So I will tell you, for people who are like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. Well, I can tell you they've still benefited, and they have not drunk the required prescribed amount of half your body weight in ounces in water, and even with all the encouragement of their daughter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Stay tuned to All Aware. We will be right back. Visit us on most platforms: YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, formerly known as Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you listen or watch podcast episodes. You can also visit our website at www.allawarepodcast.com to learn more about our guest. Check for links in the show notes on most platforms. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe so this information gets to more people. Now back to the interview.
So you only have to wear these. This isn't something you wear. You wear it at night, or do you wear it during the day, or does it matter?
Great question. It doesn't matter, although I would say that the Master Foundational Cell Activation Patch is really nice during the day because it gives you more energy.
Okay.
And I do have people who wear it at night because they're in a job where they're outside and they're sweating a lot, and they're just like, yeah, I just don't want it on me during the day. I just would rather sleep on it. And I'm like, okay, as long as you can sleep, that's fine. But for the most part, we would say wear that during the day. The anti-inflammation patch, if you're having pain, those two together on a spot of pain are really helpful. If you aren't in any pain, then you could wear the Master Foundational Cell Activation patch during the day, and you could even put that anti-inflammation patch on at night, and it helps sort of calm monkey mind and have people fall asleep. But I like that patch during the day because I like having that calm feeling, sort of the reduction of anxiety during the day. It just has given me an ability to let things roll off of me and not get upset over stupid stuff. Like, that's a really nice place to be. All of this made me a better care provider right
Yeah.
away, which, patience is tough when you're getting asked 7 times the same questions over and over, or you are responsible for everything that has to do with your husband, your household, and they're keeping you up all night and walking out the front door and setting off alarms, and police are coming. And I mean, anybody who is in your audience who is a care provider, particularly for Alzheimer's, you are experiencing the death of 1,000 cuts and 1,000 deaths a day. And every day they're a different person, and they're not gone, they're in front of you, but the person that you knew is no longer with you. And so it's a very ambiguous loss. And it's hard. And I will tell you, before patching, I would ask, I don't know how people survive this. Like, I truly don't understand how people survive their spouse having Alzheimer's. It just feels like we were both dying. Like, I was dying, I was going down with the ship right with him.
Yeah.
And after patching, for a variety of reasons, my own health and my feeling better, my exercising, my being able to take better care of myself, my working out, my meditation, I do therapy, I do a lot of things to try to take care of myself. But the community of people that I have met that are doing this are so generous and so loving and so giving, and they're my tribe. Like,
Right.
we are like this newfound family that cares and supports and helps, and we're all in this effort to do something bigger than ourselves, just like you are. That's a really great feeling. It's
It is.
an outward focus as opposed to an inward focus. And when you can work on helping other people outside, then you're not just you're not looking internally and going, oh, woe is me. Because I could spend
Yeah.
all woe is me, but it's
Yeah.
just how I want to live.
And you help yourself by helping others. I wish more people understood that. But yeah, this is great. And you know what? I wish I would have known this too. For my grandfather, he's actually out in Arizona and went through Alzheimer's, and our family had to see that. And he was fine. And then all of a sudden, you walking, like you said, escaping, walking down the street, getting lost. And eventually had to put him in a nursing home. And from just the stories I heard about how he was acting there, was completely 180 from my grandfather. Completely 180. He doesn't do stuff like that. So but it is getting out there thanks to you and people like you, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. And I guess I would like to know, how do the listeners or viewers get this product, or where do they go? How do they get involved? Or if they want to, learn more about it, how can
Yeah.
we?
Well, I would love for folks to start by going to the website iamreverseaging.com. So that's iamreverseaging.com. And you can see there, you can see amazing before and after photos. You can see the patent. You can see the 90 clinical studies. You can see you can see a 2-minute video on how it works, and you can see a 16-minute video on how it works, you can see the science. You can see the inventor talking to practitioners and doing a really deep dive that goes way over my head. You can see us. Oh, there's one on horses. We actually take our patches off after 12 hours. And while the company makes no claims about this, we take our patches off and we put them on our pets, and they get
Okay.
well. And even I had a friend whose dog was paralyzed, and the vet said, there's nothing we can do, we're sorry. And 3 days of patching, the dog was running around like a puppy. It was astonishing. And
Wow.
we've had all sorts of animals, goats, cats, horses. We've seen people patch tortoises and fish and birds. I mean, every loved animal out there that has been patched. So it's safe enough for your pets, no
Yeah.
matter how much they weigh. Like, I had a 5-year-old Maltese, Bella, that is no longer with us, but if I would have known about patches before she passed away, she would have been patched up fast, and I know would have experienced the benefits. So yeah, I am reverseaging.com. You can just connect with Darlene there, and then I reach out to everybody who reaches out to me. You can also buy the patches there. Although I would rather you consult with me. I can get you wholesale prices. That $99 price comes through a way that I can help make sure that you're paying the least amount possible. It's too often people end up paying retail and looking at the website and saying, oh, it's $150. Well, it can be $150, or they think they have to be on auto ship at $99 a month, and that's not the case. So you don't have to be. You just connect with me, and I'll help you get come in at some of the cheapest ways. And there is, for those people who are interested in diving deeply and sharing this with others, most of the time we don't even talk about the business side of this, because what happens is it grows very organically. Somebody begins patching, they feel great, and they're like, I have a friend I would like to introduce this to. I have 5 friends I would like to introduce this to. And so all of a sudden they're doing what I'm doing, and we're sharing it a lot. And ultimately this will be my retirement plan, right? Ultimately, the passive residual income that is available is phenomenal. And this company is just beginning. There's new technology that is coming out. We'll hear about it next month. I'm super excited. I've actually heard I've heard the owner inventor say 100% of people responded to this new technology. It's not a patch. We're considered a technology company, not a patching company. 100% of people responded. The fastest were in 15 seconds. The slowest took 2 minutes. And essentially this technology would heal a broken bone in 7 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It takes
Wow.
6 to 7 weeks. So there's more. And I can't wait to get my hands on whatever that is for my husband.
Sounds like a med bed to me, or some kind of stuff. My audience would probably see it as something along those lines.
No idea, right?
Yeah.
More to follow. Just don't know yet. But I'm excited. I'm excited to find out.
And so this is LifeWave. Is that the
Yes.
company? Okay.
Yes. But I will tell you what happens sometimes is people will start they'll go on Amazon and they'll pay. Those could be expired patches, and they could also be patches that were left in the sun and no longer good. So
Okay.
no brand partner is allowed to sell on Amazon. So that's an illegal transaction if anybody ends up getting them on there. So you have to buy them from a brand partner. My hope is that someone would reach out to me, because I would like to help hold their hand and walk them through the process. There's a health tracker we like to fill out to make sure you document your baseline, where you're starting and where you are a week and 2 weeks. And I'm that person that just checks in and makes sure you're doing okay. And if there's any negative situation that goes on, there are times when on a rare occasion, 1%, like somebody will have a detox. It's going to cause detoxification, but if you're drinking enough water, that's not a problem. But if you're really toxic and you have sensitivity, we might need to slow down the wearing of the patch. And instead of 12 hours, you might wear it, 6 hours or 3 hours to start off with, till your body has detoxed enough and you can kind of keep up. We just don't want toxins floating around. So it's nice to have a consultant to walk you through it. It's also nice to have someone point you to, this is what I'm trying to do. These are my goals, and which patches would be best for me. Well, I'm always going to tell you, if you have an issue, I want you to start with the anti-inflammation patch and the master foundational cell activation patch, always. But there are other patches. There's a patch that helps elevate glutathione. That's your body's master antioxidant. That's the patch that you would add if you're trying to prevent a knee surgery. We've got a study where, and I'm not even sure I'm allowed to talk about it, but basically all the participants in the study were supposed to have knee surgery, and then they patched with 3 patches, and at the end of that study, none of them went on to have knee surgery. So
Wow.
there are patches that help with specifically with sleep, and there's there just are different patches, and that's where my my years doing this and diving into all this days, you don't have to know all the gory details because I do, and that's what I can help you with.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I appreciate you coming on here. How would somebody get a hold of you if they want to go through you to get this technology, to get these
Yeah, so the
functions?
IamReverseAging.com website, and then also I am on LinkedIn, and I am also on Facebook, Darlene Bennett Greene, and Greene's got an E on the end.
Okay.
If you try to reach out to me and become friends on Facebook, just tell me about that, tell me who you are or why, because I get a lot of requests that
Okay.
I respond to. If it's just say, hey cutie, I just don't do it, right? No, I would just say, tell me what you're interested in, and then we can become friends.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Is there anything else that we should know before we close out here? I know we're coming up on time here. Is there anything?
Yeah, so yeah, they're very, very safe. I just really want to emphasize that. I think in fact, there's only like one person, and they're safe. The company won't tell you that they can be used on children, but all of us patch children, and there's no issue. Many people patch children before they patch themselves, but the ability to patch children to grandparents, and the only person that you would want to be extra careful with, and I would say really needs to lock arms with their doctor, would be someone who has had an organ transplant. So if they had like a kidney transplant and they've got an alien organ in their body, what happens is they're often on immune suppressant drugs. So because several of our patches elevate your immune system so much, we would want you to be in very close contact and communicating with your doctor before before patching. And I have had somebody who was in that situation, really struggling, couldn't even walk to the bathroom, was crawling to the bathroom, poor energy, poor pain everywhere, blind, on one kidney, and not doing very well. And so we did not patch her with that master foundational stem cell activation patch. We patched her with other patches that aren't so immune boosting,
Okay.
and the one that improves energy, and the one that takes her out of pain, and those kinds of things. And man, she left me a 7-minute message on a voice text that said, oh my gosh, like I packed out 3 rooms of my house today. Not only was I not crawling to the bathroom and in bed all day, I packed out 3 rooms and got ready for the move, and I'm not hurting, and this is the best I have felt. And she just was on and on and on. So anyway, it's just, that's where having somebody hold your hand can be really helpful. But yeah, no, it's a really great thing.
So the only thing I would go back to, I just want to kind of clarify for everybody else too, is you were talking about a detox feeling. So I can kind of maybe relate from when I fasted and then different things that I've taken. There is when you get clean. I'm just going to throw this back to you, but I think that's what you're talking about, where you kind of go through like feelings of you might feel ill or sick, or like you might be something might be coming on, but it's really just the toxins in your body that are coming out of their hiding spots and being flushed out. Is that kind of what you're talking about when you're saying?
Yeah. So if someone detoxes too quickly, or too much too fast, and they're not flushing it out, those toxins are coming out of your lymph nodes, they're coming out of your fat, and then they're floating around, and you can get a headache, or you can feel lethargic, or you can start to feel like you're getting a cold or sick or something. In which case we would immediately say, okay, cut back. First, I would say drink more water. If that
Yeah.
doesn't out the symptoms, then let's cut back, let's take the patches off, and let's do like 6 hours instead of 12 hours. It's just you're detoxing faster than you can flush it, and we don't want that. So there's no occasionally we'll have somebody who gets a little rash around the spot of the patch, because that toxins are literally coming out right there. And so we can move the patch, or we can take the patch and turn it around and put it to the shirt, or we can move the patch and place it on a just a totally different location, or we can again cut back, depending on, sometimes a site location rash is easy to just sort of move or get away from pretty quickly.
Okay. Okay. And then there was also there's a book is you're the co-author of. Is that the book that the inventor came
No,
up
it's
with?
it's
Oh, there it
called
is. Become Empowered. Yes.
Yeah, Become Empowered: Echoes of Grace and Strength, Real Life Stories of Women, Transformation and Triumph. And I was asked to write a chapter in this book by someone who had heard my story. And really it goes into those first two marriages that were so hard, and then finally getting it right and having this fabulous husband who is the best human on the planet, and then going through the sadness of having him get early Alzheimer's, but finding the silver lining and kind of managing to figure out a way to survive that and thrive through that. I mean, it's a really easy thing to succumb to just being sad, or to just playing the victim, or and that's not, I mean, and I'm not happy every day.
Right.
I have to work at it, right? I have to inject joy intentionally in my life, because this is a long process. I could be sad every day for the next many, many years, or I can figure out a way to have joy and sadness at the same time, and to allow myself the full range of emotions, uh, through day to day, and be okay with that. Be okay having moments where I laugh and I'm
Yeah.
happy and not feeling guilty about that, and be okay with moments that I'm crying or I'm sad because I really lost my best friend and partner in life, and my dreams of all that we were going to do together had been just dashed. um being able to be grateful that I am able to spend time in you know in various ways, especially now. He's placed in a home. It was just ultimately taking me down, where I could not keep up with the job and taking care of him, and I needed to. He's at a place where he's stage 6C on the fast scale. For those people who are in Alzheimer's and know what that is, that's a pretty severe stage, and that, you know it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, was to place him in that home. It was like, felt like death and a divorce and a move all wrapped up in a weekend. And then it just didn't, and up until that point I hadn't really cried. I'd gone like 4 or 5 years and not really cried. And man, the gates came open, and I had all of a sudden I had the opportunity to cry. I wasn't never going to cry like that in front of him.
Yeah.
He won't understand. He's like a child, really. So I don't want
Yeah.
him to not understand or feel in any way responsible. He wants to fix it if I am sad. So I don't want that to be the case. But I finally had the space to cry, and giving myself the permission to do that was important. So it's been a navigation of a lot of emotions, um, and I think this book, it's, my story is one of many that some would say are inspiring, and there are, many stories, 12 authors in this book who write their own stories that are very vulnerable and personal, and you just kind of say wow for those other stories. So it was an honor to be a part of the book, quite honestly. And I was one of the most surprised people of all people when it was a bestseller, like Amazon bestseller, like national bestseller in the first month. I was just like, what? So, um, you know,
Out
I
there changing
would
lives. That's great.
never, if I hadn't been asked, and I will tell you, I did not enjoy the process at all. Like, if you were to say, well, let's just do a whole book on your whole life, I'm never going to do that. Never going to happen. I did not enjoy it, and I'm glad it's done, and I won't have to do it again.
So if that does happen, then there's probably a ghostwriter involved somewhere along the way, right?
I've thrown away the notes. Like, I don't ever want to go back, look that far back. It was, I've got through it once, and there's no sense in redredging it. It's just not a healthy past. And I had a wonderful growing up. Like, I had a blessed high school, college, very wonderful youth.
Where'd
And
you go
then
to college?
I went to University of Virginia.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I
That's
had
good.
a great life until I made a very poor decision. I mean, who you marry I don't think I just really had to emphasize this to my daughters. Like, this is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. It is more important than what school you go to, what job you have, all of those things that can be changed so easily.
Yep.
And learning to trust your animal brain and your gut instinct and pay attention to red flags.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't smart enough to know anything about that and in my youth. And I really wish I had. I really wish I understood how much rationalization I was doing to just sort of overlook red flags.
Yeah, I think it's common. I mean, for everybody, just living and loving and having fun and all that. So it's not, we all do it to an extent. Even guys, we're like that growing up, and then eventually we're like, wait a second, what am I doing here? Maybe I should make some better decisions. But Darlene, it's been great having you on today. I really appreciate you coming on All Aware. And for everybody out there, I am reverseaging.com. I am reverseaging.com. We'll throw it up on the screen there, and that's how you can find that, the patches, and go through her. Don't go on Amazon. That's not nice. Just go through her and get the
It's just not
patches.
quality. I just can't guarantee any results. Plus, they can't sell them any cheaper than I can get them to you anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, I have a money back guarantee that they don't have, so it's really easy.
Hey.
Yeah.
There you go. See, you're not even gonna lose any money. So I'm actually gonna try these. You've convinced me now.
Yeah,
So
well, let's chat after the podcast when we can, and
Yeah.
I would love, and then you can come on and tell your story and talk about how they've
Yeah.
affected your life and those loved ones around you. So I'm glad I you know, you have a great platform and an audience that is more open-minded and awake to all of the things that are possible and going on in the world, and aren't
Yeah.
just sleep at the wheel there. So
Yep.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll do that, and I'll definitely be in contact with you. And then I'll probably I really want to get my parents on it too. So
Okay. I did too. And my dad was visiting the cardiologist this last couple weeks ago, and I was with him, and he's got his patches on, and the doctor says, well, how have you been? And he goes, well, you know, I wasn't very sturdy before, and then I started using these patches, and now I'm sturdier walking around. And he said, what are these patches? And I told him about them, and he's diving in and looking, and he's like, this is very interesting. And you know, there's enough cardiologists that I've sent him, you know, videos of cardiologists talking. We have every different kind of pediatricians, all sorts of
Yeah.
doctors, but also a lot of other kinds of people, more naturopathic kind of people, chiropractors and integrative medicine and functional medicine doctors and things, people that are often more looking at the systems of the body, the whole body,
Mhm.
as opposed to, you know, really, when you look at doctors, and God bless them, because there's a place and time for them. But when you think about it, medical school was really founded and the curriculum built by pharmaceutical companies. So they're learning surgery and drugs, and that's what they know.
Yeah.
And they really have to work hard outside the institution, and they often don't have time to go learning about these alternative paths or other ways of doing anything, or even just nutrition. I mean, they just don't know. And
No.
that's too bad, but that's our system. And that's why
There's a
for
book, they open it, they find out what your symptoms are, and that's what the diagnosis is, and that's it.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so all of these drugs are really just, they're masking and they're fixing symptoms, but they don't
Yes.
go to the root cause. And that's where what we're doing is we're having the body is fixing at the root cause the issue. And you don't even have to know what it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to be able to say it's this or that. It doesn't have to have a word attached to it. It can just be you don't feel well for whatever reason. And you don't have to figure out why. And your body has this innate wisdom and knows how to heal itself, especially when you give it the building blocks it had when it first started, when it was first born.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. Oh, thank you for coming on. This has been another episode of All Aware, and this has been Darlene Greene. And for all you guys tuning in, if you have any questions, you can get a hold of her. You can Leave comments on the episodes as well. If you do get the this particular phototherapy patch, and let us know how everything went. And until next time, you are all aware. See ya.